Hey, what's up guys? So we are going to be showing off Weathery in action, and a lot of you guys really wanted to see this deck, and I feel like it's a little bit too early for this deck. Some archetypes, we need certain cards to make the deck run properly, so maybe this archetype will get better support, because at the moment, after watching what the deck does, I don't think it is ready. Now, you're going to see it versus two of the newer decks. We have it versus Crawlers as well as Vendread. Now, the thing is that the way that the deck plays, and we'll go over some of the cards in depth and kind of go over the mechanics of the archetype, but overall what it looks like it wants to do is tag out over and over and bounce things back. I don't think that that's the best way to play the deck, because that just causes you to lose. Like, let's be honest here. You can't play these decks where it's like, I'm going to bounce back your card, I'm going to bounce back your card, and I can half my attack and attack directly. Like, that's what the deck wants to do. But again, I just don't think it's ready. Again, being able to bounce back some cards is nice, like it halves the attack of the card over here. But it's, again, having the attack is not something that we really want in the game. We need things that just like banish immediately or give you draw power. The deck is way too slow. Even if you have like an optimal hand, you don't have an explosive play in the deck. And you guys will see over here how the deck kind of just functions. And Crawlers was a deck that I think was basically designed to not be competitive. And what I mean by that is because the deck orients itself around setting monsters and flipping up, like that mechanic, as some of you guys know, like flip effects, they're just really not in right now. The last deck that actually used flip effects was like Shadal's, that used it pretty well too. Had this mechanic where you're able to, you know, set monster, and that monster brought back like any monster from the graveyard. You could bring back the fusions, but press F to pay respects to Shadal's. I'm hoping they'll release more Shadal's, because that was an archetype that I thought was really cool. It used an older mechanic that just didn't really see much play. But again, Crawlers are kind of like the new archetype that involves flipping monsters. And then this one, if it's flipped up, you can destroy a face-up. You can target a spell trap card and get rid of it. And then all the Crawlers, they can actually special summon multiple Crawler monsters if it is being left by an opponent's card effect. But for the most part, I just don't think that Crawlers are designed to really be a strong archetype. But who knows? I mean, there is cards that get support later on. Like early when Fluffles first came out, everyone thought the deck was bad. And you guys weren't wrong, because at the very beginning stages of Fluffles, we didn't have anything for Fluffles. We only had like a few cards. And the deck was like an all-in. You would go all-in for Fretful Wolf and just hope that your opponent didn't have anything. Again, this is early on. Later down the line, they did get support. So I think that Weatheries are in the same categories. Crawlers, again, even if they get good support, I feel like, again, the flip mechanic is just too slow in Yu-Gi-Oh! A set cards pass, it's in the past, man. Like, you have to be much faster, especially with the magic bullets just being super strong in the game. This archetype, you guys will see, all it does is it just sits there and it bounces back cards, and then they can re-special summon themselves, but they don't do anything when they come back. If they special summon themselves and then you get to pop a card, or if you get to special summon it and then draw a card, like, they need to have a lot more. And like I said, we'll go in depth of what each card basically does, because at the moment, I believe there's 8 cards in the archetype right now. But again, they're just halving the attack, but then what do? You half it, you can go away, you come back, you can pop, or you can't even pop, you bounce back the spell and traps, but it doesn't do anything. So yeah, this was a duel that really just didn't get to go off for the Weathery player over right here. You guys can see the Crawlers, they just summon monsters, and then they just kind of just beat them down, because even if you're tagging out, you're going to take some damage, you can half them, but it's just still not optimal. Now this replay, I'm not sure if it errored out or someone quit over here, but the Vendreads, another new archetype in the game. Now this guy's playing Lightsworns plus Vendreads, just so he can get the zombies, just, you know, can start getting a lot of advantage when cards go to the graveyard. And the Vendread player just happens to be making a Vendread Slayer that has the ability to pop a spell and trap card once per turn. It's able to banish the spell and trap. And Weatheries, they're just going to straight up lose to Vendread. I think Vendread is way more reactive. It's more of a deck that I think players can actually utilize, because they have the ability to get rid of a spell and trap or a monster, or technically both. It depends which material you're using to bring out the Vendread. But again, this archetype, guys, is just way too slow. Like, even if you bounce everything back, like I said, I think this replay might have errored out, but the whole point I wanted to mention is that the Weathery archetype, it just doesn't really do anything. If you guys think I'm wrong, dude, let's go check it out. Let's go ahead and see if we can try to make this deck a little bit better. Oh, this is matchable. This is actually a good deck. So the Weathery, let me go ahead and go to it. This was the one that you guys saw in the replays. Maybe that this build just happens not to be a very optimal build, but I was looking at the weathery card because I was like, okay, maybe this is just a bad build because I was waiting for some of you guys to hook me up with weathery replays, but the thing is that no one really wants to play this deck, and I think I can understand why, and that's because what does it do? Okay, these cards, they're not part of the archetype. Like I said, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards, and they're all in here, and like I read every single one. I'm like, how can we utilize them? Now, there are some cards that you can technically utilize, maybe with some older cards that I just don't remember what would be good with them. You guys can help me out in the comment section below, because I want to build the deck, but I don't really know how on my own, because there's so many cards in Yu-Gi-Oh, and maybe we can figure out the right one. So for example, over here, the Weathery Termer has the ability to send a face-up continuous spell and trap you control to the graveyard. Then you get to place a Weathery spell and trap card from your deck. So that basically searches out most of the deck, and then on top of that, you only use its effect once per turn, but once per turn during the standby phase of the next turn after this card was banished, to activate a Weathery card's effect, you can special summon it. A lot of them have that ability to reoccur and come back, but what good does that do when the monster doesn't really do anything? I mean, I guess this one, it has the ability to send one, so I guess this would be like the draw power, if you will, of the card. So it does cycle some stuff, but it doesn't really do anything to advance your game state, because we'll get into that in a second, because most of the cards are just bouncing back the back row. We need bouncing back the monster, and that would really, really help out. But next up, we have the Cloudy Weathery Sleet. So this has the ability, if another face-up Weathery card or cards you control is sent to the graveyard while you control this card, so it has to be another one. You can target up to 2 Weathery spell and traps in your graveyard and place them in your spell and trap zone face up. So this card, again, it just helps out with the back row, but then we'll get into the back row in a second. But anyways, it has the ability to, once again, during the standby phase of the next turn after this card on the field was banished for Weathery, you can just special summon it. So they have that effect. That's how the archetype functions. And then we have Lazula over here, that if this card was special summoned, you can place a Weathery spell and trap from your hand into your spell and trap zone face up. Then, all of them, by the way, have the effect of, like, you can only use them, like, once per. I'm not going to go over that. Again, in addition to that, it can come back. So, again, this has the ability to place it from your hand. I don't really like placing it from the hand. That's kind of minus, because you could just place it from your hand in the first place anyways. I guess if you're setting up for something, it could be used for that. But for the most part, it's just not that plus. That's the way I see it. Unless there's some interesting interaction that I was unaware of. But next up, we have Weathery Seal over here. So this one has the ability to place a Weathery spell and trap from your deck into your spell and trap zone when it is normal summoned. Again, it would be much better if it was special summoned, and their stats are really mediocre. I mean, we've got 17, 15, 12, and 0. I mean, I guess we can argue that this one has 22 defense, but putting stuff in defense mode, unless you're able to, like, get a huge amount of advantage off of it, it's too slow, because it's when it's normal summon, and I don't think you're going to be wanting to normal summon this card with 0 attack, you know what I mean? You're going to most likely special summon it. I guess it does technically have the ability to be banished and then brought back, so at that point, you know, the whole, like, attack is, like, it doesn't really matter. You're just looking at the defense points, but again, that mechanic too slow, because you're going to have to rely on your play going through to wait later on and then bring back this card. And we'll get into, like, maybe this will be more viable with the Link card, which we'll get into in 1 second. But anyways, it can special summon itself just like the rest of them. But the most important things are the spell and trap, because all the cards that they have, they all say, like, you can put spell and traps, put spell and traps. So let's go ahead and go over the spell and traps for the archetype. So we have the pattern over here. You can only control one of the patterns, but Weathery affect monsters in your main monster zone in the same column or adjacent to that main monster zone gain this effect. You can banish this card, then target one spell trap your opponent controls, and return it to the hand. So you banish the card, and then you only get to bounce the card back. Like, if it banished their card, that would have been good. Banish, destroy it, much better than giving it back to your opponent. And that's, I think, where the problem with this deck lies, as of right now. Keep in mind, we could be looking at a good deck in the future. It's just as of right now. There is, however, a card. If someone remembers the card name, if anything would be bounced back to the hand, it is banished instead. That's the card that I was thinking that could be utilized in this archetype. However, we need to be able to bounce back monsters. I think that's the important thing, and I think that that's what Weathery is missing right now. Otherwise, it's just going to be a flop archetype. It's going to be like the Crystal Beast Pendulum support. How many players actually played that? Exactly. 0. Actually, I tried. It didn't work out too well. But for the most part, like, they release these cards that we're probably never going to be using. And again, maybe that it's just early on. We're going to get support later down the line. But anyways, next up we have the pattern over here. So the cloudy, weathery pattern. You can only control one of them, and then monsters in the same column or monster zones adjacent to the gain the effect. Quick effect, except during the damage step, you can banish this card, target one face-up monster on the field. This turn, its attack becomes half its current attack, and it can attack directly. So I was thinking at first the Archetype's mechanic was, I'm going to go ahead and just keep on banishing it when you try to attack, and I'm going to half your attack, and then when I go in, I'm going to attack directly. Again, I just didn't think that that was a great mechanic, but I didn't know if that was how the Archetype wanted to play, if it was like an attack directly deck. But it just wasn't like a really good card in my opinion. Again, who knows, maybe something, again, later down the line we'll support it. But we have the Thunder Weathery pattern over here. This is one of the continuous trap cards. You can only control one of them, and then in the main monster zone, also adjacent to the monster adjacent to that zone, it gains the effect. At the start of damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can banish this card to return the opponent's monster to the hand. This is probably one of their better cards in the deck. Again, bouncing back the monster is kind of what the deck really needs. But again, it's a trap, it's a little bit slow, you would have to wait for it. I don't know if this is the right thing that the Archetype needs, because again, it's first off, it's a trap, it's slow, you can't be reactive. If there's something that's problematic on board, you need to get rid of it fast, and if you don't have access to getting rid of it like turn, like, you know, that specific turn, like for example Magic Bullets, that can get rid of it a lot faster. And again, it just bounces it back to the hand, and looking at like the Magic Bullets, they bounce it back to the hand, okay, it's cool, man. And well, this deck has probably a bad matchup against that deck in the first place, let's be honest here. But I think that they really need to be able to destroy stuff, like I mentioned before, destroy or banish. Bouncing back, it's an outdated mechanic, I think, for the most part, unless it can be really fast. And again, we're looking at a trap card here. Next up, we have the Aurora Weathery pattern. So you can only control one of them. Oh, they all have the effect we can only control one of them too. Like, I don't know if that really matters. Maybe it's going to make more sense later down the line when they become good. But it has the ability to, when exactly one card is added to either player's hand, you can banish this card, banish that card, and if you do, that player draws one card. So whatever they're going for, like if they're trying to search for a card, you get rid of that card, which is good in one sense, but then they get to draw another card, so it's not really like they're going super minus. Like, obviously they can hurt some plays in the game, but for the most part, it's not like you're gaining a huge advantage. So the biggest like card that the deck has is the Weathery pattern, but again, I mentioned before, like, I think that even though you're able to bounce back like the Spell and Trap, you can bounce back the monsters. This one's way too slow. That is the biggest problem. I think it needs to be just like immediately. You should be able to like tribute the Weathery or just go for it something much faster, not at the start of the damage step, because again, they're going to probably get rid of your Weathery monsters, or you're going to have to banish them so you don't get destroyed. I'm sure you guys saw the Utopia that was actually brought out. Like, there's just too many cards to just destroy this whole archetype as a whole. I didn't want to use this as a deck profile, but thanks, Teriyaki. I appreciate you showcasing off the deck. No one is playing this deck. And like I said, I understand why. And if some of you guys might be thinking, maybe it'll be better for the links, because when I was looking at the archetype, the only card that I thought was, like, actually viable was the Rainbow Weathery RCL. Now this card, it's actually amazing. It does require 3 Weathery monsters, so very conditional. However, because you can keep on banishing your stuff and you can have it come back, yeah, you could make this card. And I know we don't, again, have links in Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Percy. By the way, does anyone know a really good application that has links already implemented into it that has, like, player base? Like, there's actually players playing it? Let me know, because I would love that. But the Link monster is probably an important card, because some people might say, like, okay, without this card, then the whole archetype is kind of, like, dead. And, well, I would say that this really helps the deck. Anyways, let's go over its effect real quick. So when an opponent would special summon a monster or monsters, you can send this Link summon card to the graveyard, negate the special summon if you do destroy that monster. Then, once returning to the standby phase of the next turn after this card on the field was banished to activate a Weathery card's effect, which I'm assuming it counts itself. Effect monster, you can special summon this banished card, Weathery effect monster that this card points to gain the effect. When a card or effect is activated, you can banish this card, negate the activation if you do destroy that card. Now, again, being able to make this card would be ideal in the deck, but if you're using 3 of your monsters just to make this one card, and it gets stopped, I think the deck is out. Like you're just out of plays. But again, once this card comes out, it will definitely help the deck. But I still don't think it's looking to be a top tier deck. But that's my thoughts and also my overview of Weatheries. And if you guys have any other suggestions for this deck, I would love to hear them, because some of you guys requested this. But again, a lot of you guys were like, this deck is garbage. I think it's just too early on. But with 8 cards, I mean, I don't know. You guys remember the FAs, right? The F. Oh my gosh, I can't. Can I use this? Okay. Okay, yeah, FA, okay. Because I forgot if it was, it was F.A. So, like, with the announcement of FAs, it was kind of like, well, we have 4 cards, but, like, well, if we can't play them, why just release 4 of them? I mean, at least make the deck playable if you're releasing some of the cards. That's the way I see it. Like, again, the Crystal Beast, they got pendulums, but then, no, like, it's just unusable, unfortunately. But, anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts on Weatheries. Again, going back to my point, is like they can banish the spell and trap pretty easy. Like that's not too bad. Oh wait, where is it? This one, where you could just use it a quick effect. But I think that this is what needs to have the quick effect. Like waiting until the damage stuff, you've already lost at that point. You know what I mean? But I mean, you have the ability to search out the card, and they're gonna know what the heck is said. That's another problem with this, is that you're gonna actually have to reveal to your opponent, because you have to place the Weathery card, and you're gonna actually have to show them what you're setting, and then they're not gonna run into it. And again, another problem that the deck faces. But who knows, maybe it'll be good in the future. But if you know of any other cards that have interesting interactions, like I said before, there is a card where if anything would be, let me see if I can find it, would be banished. Is that not banished? There is a card. I don't know if it's a monster or what it is, but it's like whenever a card, actually, is it a penguin card? Hold on, I think is it Nope Penguin? During the person when the effect of a penguin. Oh, hold on. Oh, it is a penguin card. Okay. Oh, okay. Maybe that's a little too difficult. Any effect of if a card would be returned from the field to the hand by the effect. Oh, it has to be by the effect of penguin. Never mind. Is there another card that does this though? Like a spell and trap. Okay, because the penguin one won't work. I mean, unless it's bolt penguin, you're not getting places. But let me know your guys' thoughts on Weathery. Like I said, if you guys have any cool like replays of Weatheries, I would love to see it, because I was looking at the deck and trying to build it. I'm like, okay, this can't even function. But someone sent me out the replay. I was like, all right, finally someone got it, but it ain't good. Like I don't think it's the player's fault. But thanks again, Teriyaki, for sending in. But it's just the archetype as a whole is not ready. At least that's how I feel. But who knows? Maybe that link card will really make it much better, because it will make it better. But I don't know how good. I don't know. That's the way I see it. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing some Weatheries. If you did, drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button for more Yu-Gi-Oh content.